guys, I hope you're doing well. Today I want to share about something that was talked about on a podcast that Joni and Friends did. I can't remember the two ladies' names, but anyways, one of the ladies had cerebral palsy. And one of the things that she shared about is something that I was like, oh my, like this is something I can relate to. I felt like she understands me. She knows what's like, and so, yeah. Anyways, that's what I want to talk about today. So the topic that she was sharing about on this podcast was having mild cerebral palsy and two different aspects of it. One was getting stared at by people, and the other one was falling. Two things that I have experienced a lot in my life. The first one, getting stared at, I'm actually have another part of my disability that makes it harder for me to even realize that this is happening. So I am legally blind. And so, yes, I know people stare. But a lot of times, I don't even notice that they're staring. And so, as she was talking about how, a lot of times when people stare, what you truly wish is that they would just come up to you and say hi. That they would just get to know you for a little bit. Which is hard to do, when you're at a grocery store, at a mall, or whatever. And so, I guess for that part, I'm kind of grateful that my vision is not the best. Because I don't really notice when people are staring. It's just not something that I'm typically aware of. Okay. So yeah, I don't typically notice when people are staring. But it's still unhealthy to stare. It can be degrading if that person is able to notice. And you have to think about the fact that that person is probably with other people. And so they are probably feeling stared at, and we're all made in God's image. So you don't ever want to do anything that's going to make a person feel less. Now, we've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So we will have times in our lives when we will do things that will make somebody feel less. But we should try really hard not to do things that are going to make a person feel less. And staring at a person, it doesn't do any good. And you got to think about it. Like, if you're looking at somebody and you're in a supermarket and you're going to run into something. You could get hurt. You could lose track of what you were originally doing. It could cause a lot of problems for a lot of people. So don't stare. Maybe walk up to them and just say hi. And remember that one point that she made in the podcast that I thought was so good was, remember that person is so much more than their disability. It's like if somebody has pink hair, yeah, that pink hair is going to make them stick out, and yeah, you're probably going to stare. But you got to remember that person has more of a story than just their pink hair. And so, we need to get beyond the staring. We need to get beyond the gawking or whatever. But yeah, people staring is something that I have experienced, but I don't always notice it as much as I guess the typical person with cerebral palsy would, because of my loss of vision. The next one that she talked about was falling and losing balance. Now, this is something that I can totally relate to. This is something that I'm totally aware of. And this is something I'm still working through and processing how I feel best when people respond to it and what they say and what they do. But I have fallen many times in my life. I am good at tripping over air. Is what I've said. Because my foot, so your foot normally does this. It goes up and down. Your ankle moves up and down. It's called walking heel toe. My foot doesn't. It goes like this. If anything, my toe goes into the ground. And then, so a lot of times it'll go, and then my body will go forward, and I guess more than falling, I get to the point where I'm like, whoa, and I have to catch myself. But there are a lot of times that I have fallen. Now, nicely, those that know me, my family members, those that are close to me, they will tease me about the fact that I can trip over air. Now, but they also know how to lovingly help me up and how to be there for me. So they, I guess, have earned that right to go into that space to laugh about it. But if you are an outsider, you have not earned the right to be in that space and to make light of or to tease somebody for whatever situation they're going through. And so, I can promise you, when I trip, it's not because I've been drinking or doing anything I shouldn't, because I don't drink or do drugs or any of that. It's just, sometimes my foot, when it gets tired, it drags more, depending on what shoe I'm wearing. Like, if it has less support, it'll drag more. But it just happens. Like, I can't sit there and be like, okay, today I know I'm gonna trip, or today I know my foot's gonna drag. Like, I don't know. I don't know when it's gonna happen. It just does. And, I'm a crier. And I have zero pain tolerance. And so when I fall, it hurts and it shakes me up. And I get embarrassed, and that's hard. It's hard to deal with. A lot of times I will try to get up on my own, but then there's also, been a handful of times when I do need help to get up, and so I think what hurts almost worse than falling is the embarrassment, because I don't ever want to draw attention to myself, like just walking through life. I want to blend in. I want to be like everybody else and just be able to walk and go about my way. And yes, there are different things that I could do that would make the falling less, but those also have things that they're connected to. Like, I wore a leg brace for the longest time growing up. It's officially called an AFO. Don't ask me what it stands for. I don't remember. Ankle foot orthotic or something like that. Wearing one of those helps with the tripping, but wearing one of those all the time also prevents muscle mass from forming. So my left leg became smaller than my right, and you wear a brace, it limits what type of shoes you can wear. They can be very hot and sweaty in the summer. And I can walk without it. And there was also times when I would trip even if I was wearing my brace. So it's also good to not approach somebody and be like, well, if you did this or this or this, you wouldn't trip. You know, like, they have probably tried all those things. And you just get to a point where you want to be a regular person and go about your way. If we, not that I do this a lot, but my husband and I went hiking a few weeks ago for our anniversary. And so, in those type of situations, I'll grab his hand or grab his arm, and he's totally, like, ready to offer it and ready to be there. But I can walk. I ran cross country. I ran 2 mini marathons with help. I mean, I held on to somebody and stuff like that, but, like, there are things that I can do myself. And I want to be able to do things myself. Somebody that has a disability, or even people that don't have a disability, if you look at a toddler is going to want to do as much as they possibly can by themselves. Like, they want to be independent individuals. People with disabilities are exactly the same. If there's things that they can do themselves, they're going to want to do them themselves. And I have even had times when I'm holding my husband's hand and I trip. I don't fall because I'm holding his hand, but I still trip. So, yeah, I guess my point is, I want you to know and be aware that this is something that a lot of people with cerebral palsy encounter, especially people with mild cerebral palsy that aren't in wheelchairs, aren't using walkers, aren't using crutches. Like, it is something that we deal with. And it is good to offer, if somebody falls, offer a hand to them. Say, can I help you up? Don't say, do you need anything? Like, be specific. Can I help you up? Don't ask if they're okay, because the answer's no. Like, they just fell. And in the podcast I listened to, she made a really good point of check on the person the next day. Because a lot of times bruises and soreness and things can be a lot worse the next day. If you were going to go do something with that person and they trip along the way, offer to say, hey, if you want to reschedule, if you don't want to go do this, we don't have to. If you were going to go do something, offer to walk home with them. Just don't assume anything, but just show them that you're willing to be there for them. And just sit there with them in their emotions, and to help them realize that you'd be embarrassed too if you fell. And so, yeah, I know that a lot of you that know me, a lot of you that watch these videos probably know this and understand this, but, yeah, there's just so many different things that that different people are going through. And this is one of the things that I daily have to deal with, unless I'm in quarantine and sitting in a hotel and not going anywhere, like I haven't tripped lately. But it is a very common occurrence. And so I'm very thankful for the caring people that have been there to help me up, or have asked how I was doing, a few hours later or the next day or whatever. So everybody needs those kind of people in their life. So I would encourage you to be that for an elderly person, for a person with a physical disability, or just if you see somebody that falls, offer to help them up, offer them a hand, or a wipe, a tissue, whatever you may have. So have a great day. We'll talk to you next time. Bye. God bless. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you next time.